I met Lisa Lauzon a few years ago, and I knew there was more to this woman's story than just what I've mean on the outer shell. I'm so excited to introduce you to Lisa, her story of overcoming perseverance, and the things that she's done well into her 30s and 40s. Hi, North of 35ers. My name is Michelle Renee, and this is Lisa. She's the owner of the Walk, Run, and More store here in Grande Prairie, and I'm taking an opportunity to tell you a little bit about her and listen to a little bit of her story. How you doing, Lisa?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, how about you?
I'm doing good. We're going to check out the store after hours, so it's perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah, busy day today.
It has been, yes.
Yeah. So, can you tell me a little bit about what your story has been like since you turned 30 on?
Oh, 30 on. So that's for me when everything changed. I was a career person. I had a travel agency, very career driven, and chose that year to have a baby. And as every mother out there knows, nothing is the same once you have your baby. Things were amazing. Some of my world was a little less than amazing. So I ended up with a 6-month-old baby, and I was a single mom suddenly, and with a small business. So that was a bit challenging. We ended up closing that business when she was 2. I couldn't manage the hours and the single parenting. So there was lots of changes in that time frame. Tried to put most of my effort into being a parent, working to support myself, and as opposed to a career for the first few years. And then 5 years ago, I had the opportunity to open this store and get back into business and put lots of hours in, which business requires. So in a nutshell, those have been the big ups and downs of the 30s. I took up a big life change for me was taking up running in about 7 years ago. I had a weight issue, had some injuries, unable to continue playing the sports that I did play before that, and took up running and found that as a overweight, middle-aged female, it was really tough to see myself as an athlete and to get fitted to buy athletic clothing and to get shoes or any of those things. I'm not an athlete. I can't walk into a sports store. I'm fat and I'm old. Like, that was my self-image.
Yeah.
So that was where some of the seed for the store came, was where do you go if you don't see yourself as a jock?
Yeah.
And if you're, inhibited by being middle-aged and female. And so we created a store for that person, because we're all exactly who we're meant to be, and we don't have to fit some stereotypical image.
Yeah.
We don't have to be child athletes. We can be an athlete at 50.
We don't even have to be natural athletes.
That's the nice thing with running. There's something natural about it. Everybody can put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
So so that's and that's been my journey as well, through learning to do a sport that I don't have a clue how to do, but they tell me I'm not allowed to do any other sport because I'm too injured. So we'll try that one. And that was a fun journey, and I got to go to Boston and compete there. It's just a couple of years under my belt, so anything's possible.
Yeah. And the next question I have for you are, what are some of your biggest accomplishments that you've had since turning 30?
Biggest accomplishment since turning 30. The best thing that's ever happened to me is having a child. My daughter's now 15, and that it's the most important thing I believe I'll ever do, is to be her mom. So that's an accomplishment, and maybe to some people it's not the greatest one, but for me, for sure it is. After that, some cool stuff that I've been able to do would be, I got to compete as a soloist in the death race last year, and I got to run the first 70 kilometers of it. The race is 125 kilometers, and the goal was to finish it, and I was not quite as fit as I'd hoped to be, so I didn't finish, but I did 70, which for me is the most I've ever accomplished in a race. So distance-wise and mountain-wise, with
And that's quite a variety of terrain out there. It's not an easy. They don't call it the death race for nothing. So that's a huge accomplishment.
It was. It's really a neat test of what your body can do, what your mind can do. So that was pretty cool. My very first race ever was a mountain race, similar to the death race. And Michelle, you're familiar with the Emperor's Challenge in Tumbler Ridge. That was my very first race, and it's up and down a mountain.
It's a challenge.
It's
a challenge.
It's absolutely awesome.
Yep.
So it was neat to get back to do that. And that sticks out in my mind because that's, for me, was a real test of, where I was at. And I learned I was nowhere near what I thought I was at. And it's a good chance to get humble pie. And you know what? You get into the groove and you do a better training plan and you go back next year and parts of it are easier.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, I was able to run in Boston. So I qualified for the Boston Marathon and then got to run it. And that was pretty exciting. And certainly a bit of a dream for me to be able to go and run with some pretty amazing runners. Thankfully, they have a section at the back for those of us that are not in the elite category.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
And just about the Boston, can you share a little bit more about what happened that year?
Yeah, I got to run Boston the year of the bombing. And obviously, thankfully, I'm okay. I did get to finish my marathon. About 9 minutes ahead of the bomb. So I was clear of the area and free of debris or any of that. Did get to hear it and experience some of the chaos that came afterwards, for sure. I was very blessed. None of my family was able to attend, so nobody I knew, nobody that I brought with me was injured as a result of my participating. So that was a real blessing. The chaos of families trying to connect down there because the bombing occurred where most of the spectators were.
Yeah.
So there was a huge amount of hysteria of people trying to connect with their loved ones to make sure they were okay. And I didn't have to experience any of that. And I had been so bummed out because nobody could come with me. And, of course, in hindsight, you realize there's reasons for things. So it was a bit, Boston, the city of Boston, I kudos to them and the government, the United States government. They were on site and deployed hundreds and hundreds of emergency vehicles so quickly. Investigatively, it was quite amazing how strong of a force and how quickly it was there. So we were in lockdown and they handled it as, for a really awful situation, they handled it amazing. They locked us into our hotel. Nobody was allowed to leave. There was, no food and beverage service available, and somebody took care of stuff, right? Because there's all these people that are hungry and starving. Yeah. And they kept us safe, and they kept everybody contained, and they handled it beautifully. And I was able to leave a couple days later, and but it'll never take away that Boston's an amazing race, and it was so neat to see it come back to be bigger and better than ever.
Did you go to this next year for that race?
I didn't. No, I haven't. I qualified last year, so I should have run it in 2016, and due to injury, I didn't. So hopefully I'll go again. Maybe next year, the year it'll be 2017, I think, by the time, maybe.
Which is amazing, as we discussed earlier. Can I mention your age?
Yes.
She's 45, and she's running the Boston Marathon. And I mean, you're plagued a little bit of injury right now, but I mean, that kind of really leads into the next question is, what kind of attitude do you feel that you possess that gets you through all these accomplishments?
The neat thing with distance running is that you don't have to be fast. I don't know if you have to say you don't have to be fit, but time in equals results. So it's not hard. It's not, doesn't take any talent or athletic skill. It just takes effort and time. The longer you run, the lower people's expectations, which is awesome. I can be super slow. I'm encouraged to be super slow. And I'm okay with that. That's awesome. That works for me. But really, that's what it is. You set down a training plan. And whether it's 5 kilometers or 20 kilometers or 70 kilometers, where's my goal? I need the time. It's going to a proper amount of time, not, a glorified, in 4 weeks I'm going to be super fit. No, it's going to, some of these ones, you need a year to lead up to it. You need a year to hit the little milestones. And it's just a matter of every day following that program with very little exception. And then when it comes time to do the race, it's easy. Like qualifying for Boston for me the first time was probably my most fun, most relaxing race. It was awesome.
Isn't it fun when you're in that good headspace? You're like, this is going great.
And I did all the training leading up exactly the way I was supposed to.
Yeah.
And the race itself was not a huge effort.
Yeah.
When I qualified last year, I was it was more than my body really wanted to do, and it was not quite so fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I hadn't put the training in, right?
Yeah.
And distance, any type of, running over 5 kilometers is put the time in at the pace that's required, and you'll get the results out. So that's.
And one of the things we talked about before we got onto the camera part is we talked about keeping it simple.
Oh, that's. Life gets way too complicated, and we all have a lot of priorities, but what are you doing it for?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's personal headspace.
Mm-hmm.
It's just time and
it seems like you're kind of using those skills and those into your, not just your running, you're using it for work life and personal life and life.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
For me, it's got to be. I had some crisis in my late 30s, and I needed to make a shift. I needed to reprioritize, and that's what it's all about. Keep it simple, stupid. I need to be reminded of that on a daily basis. So, I get up in the morning and I read these little inspirational, I've got this little inspirational book, because it just helps me, because I like to complicate things.
Yeah.
I think most of us do. And there's a million different things coming at you saying you need to be and do, and the world and your kids and your spouse and your work. What's important?
Yeah.
All right, my family's important.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping a roof over our head's important. It doesn't have to be a fancy roof, but a roof. And, keeping my customers happy so that they come back. All right, so really the rest of it, if I can fit it in, great.
Yep.
And sometimes to keep myself sane, I need a little bit of time to do some training, like me time, family time, work time. I need to squeeze all 3 in most days. So if I can do that, I think everybody's a bit better.
Yeah, so, and then it's that ripple effect.
It's
really.
It's pretty simple, because then I'm happier and everybody around me's happier and everything gets done that needs to get done.
Mm-hmm. When you mention some of the things you've done, like, the death race and the Boston and opening up a store and being a single mom, I mean, most people will come in and say, how'd you get through it? You must have been so scared and fearful. And how do you overcome the fears and the negative thinking?
Fear is I don't know. Sometimes I think some of it's stupidity. You can't be afraid if you didn't really think it through. Sometimes I can be guilty of that. Yeah, because fear's a huge one, right? I can't. But sometimes, like, honestly, to start running, I was way too afraid to start running. So my friend tricked me into it. Yeah. Literally tricked me into it. Oh, and I paid this money for this class, and it turns out I had to run, and then I was going to lose face if I didn't. So I did, and it turns out, I like it, and I'm good at it. So fear.
And you built a store out of it.
And yeah, it turns out, right, everything's for a reason.
Yeah.
So fear obviously is a big part. What do you mean? I'm middle-aged, and when I started running, I was quite heavy, and I was middle-aged. I was in my 30s. Now that I'm in my 40s, 30 seems young. I can't be a runner. So there's a lot of fear tied into a lot of things, and mostly it's, the opportunities are put in front of you, and you can take them or not. And, I've been gifted that they're put in front of me often enough that I take them, and it turns out okay. Negativity, oh my gosh, that's a challenge. That can be a real challenge. My dad was a huge optimist, and he used to ride me, even from a kid, is, glass is half empty, glass is half full. You can see it as empty, and you can have a bad day, or you can, suck it up, princess, and you can have a good day. Everything's the same except your attitude. And he rode me, and he'd leave me little notes. And then when I opened the store, I was gifted with, he had just retired, so he came in to help me out a little bit. And it turns out it was 6 days a week, and he was in here a lot. And he just sort of would call me a little bit, right? There's nothing like a dad to call you on your stuff. Yeah.
Or anybody. You just got to have that one person that can do that for you.
Yeah. So, thankfully, I've been given a lot of, because for me, it's people that kind of keep me on track and keep me accountable. So they help with the attitude. Yeah. And a little bit of, I learned a few years ago, starting off the day, and for me, in a decent frame of mind, and taking a few minutes to commune with whatever I need to commune with. A little bit of a meditation and a quiet time, and it just sort of starts things off on a better track, instead of the, hit the ground running, I'm a million miles behind before I even start, and, just the way that life can get. So that helps me keep my priorities in check and keeps the attitude, it'll all wait.
Yep. If you could give one piece of advice to the world, what would it be?
Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today.
Good one.
At all. I've had a crazy couple years with, stuff changes so quickly. Hold those kids tight. Tell the husband you love them. Do what while you're healthy and able. It goes so quickly. It changes so quickly. Whether it's a retarded event or a hug or a friend that you haven't called in a long time. Don't leave any of it, because we're not guaranteed a tomorrow. I know it sounds kind of morbid, but this is today. This is a guarantee right here, right now. And beyond that, we can plan for it, we can hope for it, but don't put everything on it. And for me anyway, I'll later. And, I found out in the last couple of years, later doesn't always happen. So, yeah.
For many people, they don't get that opportunity. Yeah. You got any great future plans?
Future plans.
You mentioned trying to qualify again for Boston.
Yeah. I would really like to go see Boston and enjoy Boston. And my goal would be to take my mom and my daughter to Boston. And the history, just the city is just so amazing. And I'd like to go and see and enjoy more of it. And I'd like to compete again. I'd like to finish the death race. That's a goal. I'm not running 2 steps now, so I've got a little ways to go to get to that goal. But that's on the horizon. We're doing probably one of the most heart-warming things, or gifts that I've been given, is we've been doing some run programs out of the store. And we've had about over 90 participants in the last couple that we've had. So growing that, because the people that we bring in, the people that come in, I had a lady come up to me and she's like, "Thank you." So what are you talking about? I didn't think I could run. You told me that you thought I could. So I signed up, and I can. And I did a 5K, and I got a medal. And I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
And that happens with there's 90 people that are all together on that journey, and we get to do that about every 7 weeks. And I get goosebumps because they become so much more than they ever thought they could be. And I know it's a simple thing, and it's just running, but for most of us, our whole life is about somebody and something else, right? We're moms, and we're workers, and we're spouses, but there's that little piece just for us. And for most of us on the other side of 30, we've given up dreams of athletic stardom. I mean, if we ever
or
had
just
them.
Dreams in general. A lot of people just give up, or it'll wait till retirement.
I don't have time, and I don't come first. And so this is, for most of them, the only little bit of time they take just for them.
Yeah.
And they come out more full than they came in. And then they, right, I can do, and I can go do, and to see some of the neat things that they do from here is just just open the door, right?
Well, and you offer the running programs, but you're also part of a community that creates events that allows people to put these skills to their own personal test.
To keep them motivated and moving. And we did a really fun pizza, we called it a Laugh and Stumble Pizza and Pop. And it was just a fun run. Bring your mother, bring your kids, bring your whatever. We bribed the teenagers with pizza. Just, go out and do it. And they, the fun and joy. And it's like, I can do it.
Well, and it's expanding to be an all-year thing, which is amazing for our community, because we're not rural, but we live in northern Alberta, where people think sometimes we live in igloos. And then, the events that have been expanding over the years to include running and athletic outdoors.
It's so important to get outside in the winter. We have a very long winter, and it's really cold for a huge period of time. And, the vitamin D deficiency by being inside for that huge length of time, not to mention, the mental stuff it does.
All the mental stuff.
Honestly, I was never an outside person in the winter until one of my girlfriends made me run outside in the winter, and I can't. It's awful. Turns out it's not awful.
Yeah.
It's breathtakingly beautiful.
Yeah.
And, again, healthy. And you start to enjoy parts of winter versus, fighting the cold, because, we have great running weather. The nice thing with it being so cold up here is that we don't generally experience a ton of ice. So the running conditions in the winter, in some cases, are preferable to the summer. It's just, so that's, if we can get them, again, active all year round and get a headlamp on and maybe dark a little bit, but that's okay. We got stuff to fix that.
Yeah, and that's the amazing part. I think that if you you can take something that's simple and then okay, then you grow a little bit, so you expand the edges, and then you go and do something a little bit different and a little bit more and a little bit more. It's just creating this layer. And what's happened for you is, you know, you started with the idea of, well, you got tricked into running. From tricked into running, you started running. From running, you created a store. From creating a store, you got to do something bigger events. From the bigger events, you've actually created smaller events within our community, which keeps people active.
And that's key, right? And together and happy. Like, we can get the whole family out to an event. Like, what better thing is there in the world?
Yeah. And it goes back to your priorities. Like you said right from the beginning, my priorities are my family, to have a roof over my head, you know, in a way have a job, a purposeful profession that you love. And then that's going to create an expansion onto the community. So thank you for that. Thank you for what you do for our community.
Hey, I'm the lucky one. Honestly, hang out here all day. It's like, just, we have the most amazing people that come through here, and I get to live like all sorts of dreams. Like, it's just, we have some crazy amazing athletes, and we have everybody's got such a neat story, and we get to be part of it, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's making somebody hurt less, so they can go to work, whether it's a senior with some significant medical issues that we can, you know, just to be able to help, to be able to do something. And, you know, I'm not a doctor, but I can make life easier and make life better. And even for the elite athletes, I'll never be that fast or to go that far, but I can hear their story and I can provide something to help them do it better. And it's like, oh, this is so cool.
And you get to be an inspiration for people to go out and explore what I call latitudes and attitudes, right? Go out, explore outside, get outside, go to different communities, run events, walk events, whatever it is, and then you get to hear all these great attitudes of people and their stories. So thank you for being part of the North of 35 Latitudes and Attitudes community.
I'm blessed.